7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, and 13. Sure. And there's one more here, 14. Perfect. Okay. Right, we're going to add that into the system so that Janet doesn't. Oh, hi. Welcome to the ASMR library. How are you? Perfect. How can I help you today? Okay, you're looking to join our membership program. Perfect. Okay. Have you ever joined a library before, or is this your first time? Right. Okay. Well, for you to join our membership program, I'm going to first of all need to ask you, if you don't mind, some questions, just simple administrative questions like your name, your age, your address, and then more personal tailored questions such as your favourite genre, your favourite author, things like that, just so that we can obviously get more details and then also tailor the information that you will receive from us as to new releases, recommendations, and similar things like that, just so that you get a really personalised, tailored experience, which is what we want to give you, is to make it feel like this is your library. You know, you come in here and you know that there's something for you, you know that there's something that you'll enjoy, and there's also new things to discover as well. Yes, perfect. Okay, so do you mind if we start with the questions? Yeah, okay, if you just want to take a seat there and I will ask you the questions, we'll get that filled in. And then as you can see here, we've got some books already that people have brought back that I haven't checked back onto the shelves at the moment. So it might be a good idea for us to go through those together and then see if there's anything from this stock that you might like, and it may give you some ideas about things that you might like to look for in the future. Yeah, perfect. All right, so if you don't mind, first of all, may I take down your first name? And if you have a middle name, can I have your initial, please? Okay. And then of course your surname. Super duper. Okay, and your date of birth. Fantastic, that's into the system. And then the last administrative question that I need is your address, so that we can send you some recommendations personalised to you. Oh, also we will, if you would like to, we can give you, take down your email address and we can send the recommendations to your email address or your home address, both, or of course neither as well. Okay. Right. And your postal code or your zip code. Perfect. All right. So now we need your email address, like I said. Is that okay? All right. Wonderful. All right. There we go. That's all of the boring stuff done. The stuff that we don't like doing. That's all that done. Yeah. Yeah. All right. So, would you say that you're an avid reader? Are you more of a beginner to books, or what kind of, do you read books quite often or not very often? That kind of thing. What do you think? Okay, yeah. So kind of more intermediary. Yeah, right. So, you know, maybe a couple, you know, a few books a year, that kind of thing. All right. Wonderful. Cool. Okay. And what would you say that your favourite genre of book is? You know, non-fiction, fiction, autobiographical, biographical. You've got romance, sci-fi, horror, language, cookbooks, DIY books, encyclopedias, that kind of thing. What are you usually gravitated more towards when it comes to literature? Yeah, if you just want to reel them off for me, I'll write them down for you onto the system. Okay, cool, that's a wide array of books. Perfect, all right. And also, what would you say, who would you say your favourite author is to date? And in the past, have you had any other favourite authors? Things like that. Again, I'm asking you all of these questions just so that we are really able to personalise your experience here, and so that you are able to feel like you come in here and you know there's something for you. Like I said before, we're really big on making this feel like your library and your experience. So all of this really helps the system not necessarily figure out you, but to give you recommendation, make you feel more at home, and that you know there's something here for you. Yeah. Okay. So, author. Favourite authors. Good choice. Perfect, all right. Also as well, just to let you know, we do have other media available, such as video games, DVDs, CDs, even if you fancy the old audiobook video cassettes, if you still have things like that. We have vinyls, we have all of those types of media too. So it's not just about library books here, we have a vast array. Obviously library books are our main forte, but like I said, we do have a rather large, substantial section for all of those different types of media as well. So we're a great place to come to, you know, just if you're looking to try something out. Fantastic. Okay, so that's all of that done. As I said, it's just going to help the system recommend things to you. Now, in terms of the recommendations, would you prefer those recommendations, as I said, to come to your house through the mail? And it's a monthly newsletter that comes to the house, and, or like I said, you can choose. It'll come to the house and it will give you information about the new novels and releases. It's a monthly newsletter that's personalised to you and your tastes. So would you like that to come to your house? Would you like that maybe to come to your email address, or both, or neither? Yeah, of course. Perfect. Alright, so now that we've got all of that information done with, I think that maybe what you could do is go through the selection of books that we've got here. I can tell you a little bit about them. I will put them to one side, and if you like them, then what we can do is we can check them out for you at the end of the book. Should we call it a book session? Like a book checking session? Yeah, perfect. Alright, so I want to start straight from the top here. Again, these are all books that were returned today that I haven't checked back into the library yet. So you are the first person to get your hands on any of these today. So if you want something, take it. Okay. The first book that we have got here is by H.G. Wells, and it's called The War of the Worlds, and it's set in Edwardian England and deals with a Martian invasion on Earth, primarily England and more specifically around the London area, and deals with how humanity would deal with an invasion in that time period from a more intelligent technological race, and how we deal with that and overcome that. It's a really interesting read, a very on its head kind of take on society and war, humanity, values, sci-fi. It's a very, very interesting novel, and like I said, it's very old, but H.G. Wells did a fantastic job with this, and it's a great read, so I highly recommend it. Okay, next up we have The Midnight Witch by Paula Braxton, which again is a wonderful book. It's a fiction novel, and it kind of flows along the same lines of Jane Austen in terms of the setting and the time period in Edwardian England. Obviously a lot of Jane Austen's novels are earlier than that, but it feels similar in that aspect, and it's been kind of, it's similar if you kind of imagine, as it says here on the back actually, it says Downton Abbey meets the dark arts in Braxton's latest, so it's very interesting and deals with necromancy and secret societies and all of that kind of stuff, which is really interesting. It's a very lengthy novel, as you can see, quite a lot of pages to it. I love doing this with books. It's a wonderful book. Deals with her falling in love with a man who is not of her class, and also not a witch or a warlock, and deals with that kind of, like I said, in the theme of a Jane Austen book, you know, who she's supposed to go for, what she's supposed to do, and then the temptation from, you know, this other side, this other thing that comes about. It's really, really interesting. That's that book. Next up, we've got a book that comes from, so it's a spin-off book of the British television show QI. You can see the logo in the top corner here. It's a very, very, very good book, and it's the second book of one in a series. As you can see, it's very, very washed out from the sun, so lots of people have taken this out and read it, you know, on a holiday or out on a summer's day. It's a really interesting book. It's educational, but more so than being educational, it's entertaining, and it's quite shocking, the information that you will learn. And you can see there on the front are some vintage style characters with dunce caps on, which is really quite funny. blurb. I'll read the blurb of this book. It says, "Pay attention at the back there. Octopuses have 6 legs. Oranges aren't orange. Bats aren't blind. Napoleon wasn't short. Vikings didn't wear horned helmets. Diamond isn't the hardest substance. Banknotes aren't made of paper. Testosterone doesn't make you aggressive. Cheese doesn't give you nightmares, and there is no such thing as a fish. This book will make you wonder why anyone bothers going to school." It's a fascinating treasure, a very cool book. Really highly coveted and is taken out a lot here at the library, so if this is something that you would be interested in, I would recommend you take it out today. And the tagline here says, "Everything you think you know is wrong," and then they've added in "still." So everything you think you know is still wrong. And the letters here on the book are slightly raised. They've got a nice textured feel to them for the second book of General Ignorance. Okay. Next up we have a very old playbook. This is the playbook called Pygmalion, which is almost the predecessor in a way to My Fair Lady, which is way more familiar. It's made into a movie, it's a play, a musical, all that kind of stuff. But Pygmalion was written by Bernard Shaw, and a lot of people seem to enjoy taking playbooks out because, especially for me as well, I feel like it's a way to, you get to read the script and read the cues and things like that, and it enables you to imagine yourself what you would do if you were the director of this particular play, if you were directing it for stage, if you get to imagine what the characters are wearing, what they look like, the set design, the lighting, all of that kind of cool stuff, which I think is a really fun thing to imagine whilst you're reading a playbook. It's very different to reading a playbook. You don't think you'll go into the library and be like, "Oh, I want to rent a playbook today just to read it and just to imagine," but it's a really cool experience and I do recommend it. This book, as I said, is very, very old, as you can see. It's very torn and tattered, but I love old books. I think it gives them character. Okay, next up we have 2 books from the same series, which is the series called A Series of an Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. Now, I read these books as a child and they are very, very, very cool. Even for an adult, I think they are something that should be read by everyone. It's humorous, it's dark, but it's very exaggerated and exuberant, and there's a lot of characters and whimsy to it as well. It's like a rose-tinted glasses version of, I would say, kind of late Victorian England, probably, maybe even Edwardian, and it focuses on the Baudelaire orphans, and it is written by a fictional author, Lemony Snicket, And what Lemony Snicket does is he, prior to writing these books, goes around and interviews people and finds out all the information about the Baudelaire orphans, and then he compiles all of that information that he finds out into a series of books. I believe there are 13 of them. This is the 4th, and this one here is the 12th. And the writing style of character of Lemony Snicket is really interesting, and I'll read to you the blurb of the 4th book. Here, he basically always advises you to not read the books because they are so depressing and full of misfortune and sadness and unhappiness. I'll read the blurb to you and you'll see what I mean. Dear reader, I hope, for your sake, that you have not chosen to read this book because you are in the mood for a pleasant experience. If this is the case, I advise you to put this book down instantaneously, because of all of the books describing the unhappy lives of the Baudelaire orphans, the miserable mill might be the unhappiest yet. Violet, Klaus, and Sonny Baudelaire are sent to Paltreville to work in a lumber mill, and they find disaster and misfortune lurking behind every log. The pages of this book, I'm sorry to inform you, contain such unpleasantries as a giant pincher machine, a bad casserole, a man with a cloud of smoke where his head should be, a hypnotist, a terrible accident resulting in an injury, and coupons. I have promised to write down the entire history of these 3 poor children, but you haven't. So, if you prefer stories that are more heartwarming, please, feel free to make another selection. With all due respect, Lemony Snicket. It's a really interesting series, and again, I read them as a child, but I think they should all be read by a person of any age. I think they're really fun and well written, and they are misfortunate, and they do have a lot of things happen to these characters, but it's a really interesting series. They will last you a long time. Like I said, there are 13 books and they range from this thickness to this thickness. So, like I said, I highly recommend them. Next up we have another playbook. This is for Harry Potter and the Cursed Child, and this is the special rehearsal edition script. This is parts 1 and 2, based on an original news story by J.K. Rowling, John Tiffany and Jack Thorne. It's a new play by Jack Thorne. I've oddly worded that, but so Jack Thorne helped to create the story with J.K. Rowling and John Tiffany, then he wrote the play. Again, taking a really well-known series and being able to read this book in play form allows you to interpret how you, if you're a reader of the Harry Potter series, how you would direct this play. Is a really cool way to experience this particular story. We have quite a few Harry Potter books here. We've got 1, 2, 3 and 4. They are very popular, Harry Potter books, and rightly so. They're always popular, always being checked out by people who are, either refamiliarising themselves with the story they read when they were children, or discovering it themselves, or recommending it to a family or a friend to discover themselves for the first time. Next up we have 2 Harry Potter books. We've got Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban. I believe this book down here, the very front, is the updated version. Published by Bloomsbury, and the cover illustrations are based upon the original art by Cliff Wright. And then of course we have Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince, which is personally one of my favourites, alongside the Order of the Phoenix. It's a rather hefty tome, as they say, in comparison to the prior book. This is probably 2 of those, and there are quite a few pages. 607 to be precise, so quite a large book. I love the sound of page turning. I think there's something lost with audiobooks and, Kindle books. I really do. I appreciate, and I love audiobooks. I do love audiobooks, but they have their own merits. Whereas just a book, and if it's an old book, you get that smell of the old paper and just turning the pages like this. I love it, I really do. I think, like I said, it really adds to the whole experience. Chapter 24, Sectum Sempra. Next up, we are moving here onto the front of the line of books that were dropped off today. This is very different and very unique, and I haven't read it myself much. I looked at it, but it's a very interesting book, and it is the Star Wars A New Hope movie turned into a play written by William Shakespeare. So as you can see here, the art on the front is, we've got Darth Vader here dressed like William Shakespeare, and we've got the fighter jets up here in the top corner. It's all very, very Shakespearean. We've got Princess Leia and Luke Skywalker here, and Star Wars, it's by Ian Dosha, and it says, "Verily, a new hope." May the verse be with you. Return once more to a galaxy far, far away with this sublime retelling of George Lucas's epic Star Wars in the style of the immortal Bard of Avon. It is a tale told by fretful droids full of faithful Wookiees and fearsome stormtroopers, signifying pretty much everything. Reimagined in glorious iambic pentameter, William Shakespeare's Star Wars will astound and edify rebels and Imperials alike. Zounds, this is the book you're looking for. And here at back on the blurb, you have some people talking about it, and I'll just open a page here and read one line to you. So here we've got the prologue, which is the section of the movie where the text fades down and it tells you about what's happened, and this is that. So here it says, "It is a period of civil war. The spaceships of the rebels, striking swift from base unseen, have gained a victory over the cruel galactic empire, now adrift. Amidst the battle, rebel spies prevailed and stole the plans to a space station vast, whose powerful beams will later be unveiled and crush a planet. 'Tis the Death Star blast. Pursued by agents sinister and cold, now Princess Leia to her home doth flee, delivering plans and a new hope they hold of bringing freedom to the galaxy. In time so long ago begins our play, in a star-crossed galaxy, far, far away." And that is read by the chorus. That will be the group of people who provide extra, who are like they're always on stage, the chorus, and I just think that's wonderful, and I highly recommend you take that out and check it out because it's just incredible. Really well done. Next up we have one of my favourite series by Jojo Moyes. This is the second book in the series, not the third. Might be the third. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's the third, sorry. The third book in a series. The first book is Me Before You, which has been turned into a movie. The second book is After You. And this book is Still Me. Very highly regarded. Quite a large book, quite a large novel. Definitely a tearjerker. One of those books that makes you feel reflective about your own life and situations going on in your life, and just to kind of act on the moment and live your life and experience everything that you can. Again, here on the front cover we've got some raised lettering to Jojo Moyes. And the Still Me texture lettering that has risen up from the rest of the page. The #1 best-selling author of Me Before You. Next up we have Rhett and Link's Book of Mythicality, which is a very cool book by Rhett and Link, Rhett McLaughlin and Link Neal, who are childhood friends, and they have a YouTube channel called Good Mythical Morning, which they just do silly, they're comedians, so they do a morning show style comedy show where they eat different food combinations and play silly games, and it's a very, very good YouTube channel, one of my favourites that I watch quite often. A field guide to curiosity, creativity and tomfoolery. Thanks for turning over our book. You're obviously a curious person, which means you've already taken your first step towards achieving mythicality. Lucky for you, opening this book is even more rewarding than turning it over. Within these pages, you'll discover 20 ways to live a mythical life, including eat something that scares you, make a bold hair choice. And then we've got, as I said, rather large, 20 years of Harry Potter magic, Prisoner of Azkaban, which I believe is pretty much very highly illustrated with cool pictures and the like. It's a very cool book, rather heavy, and because it's so large I think it gives off a very different experience than the other smaller novels do. I think this is something quite cool to read if you have already read the books and are just looking for a different way to experience. Pages are very weighty and very heavy. There's a lot to them, but absolutely gorgeous. The artwork in these books are, but like I said, I think they're a very different experience than the original books are. And then last but not least, over here, got this very old fairy tale book, My World of Fairy Tales, stories from Grimm, Perrault and Anderson, retold by Jane Carruth. And this is a very old book. I believe it's from the late 60s, early 70s. It's got a lot of love, this book has, and it's been used quite a lot. The cover comes off quite easily because of how old it is, and you see it's left with this old-fashioned book with art and typical stories such as Snow White, the White Queen, Hansel and Gretel, Sinbad, Puss in Boots, Sleeping Fairies, The Crystal Ball, The Witch in the Woods, and so on. There's a high array of fairy tales that you probably are quite familiar with in this book. Okay, so do you know what books it is that you would like to take home with you? Yeah? Okay, perfect. So I am just going to bring up the system so we can work on getting those checked out for you. If you would just like to stay seated there, or you can go and have a wander around the library and see if there's anything else that you would like to take with you. That's absolutely fine. I'm just going to work through and get those books checked out for you. And in the meantime, thank you so much, and come over when you're ready to go, and I will have the books here ready for you to take home. Okay.